Welcome everyone to another episode of Conversations That Matter. With me today for you is Michelle Steiner from Pennsylvania, person who is extremely talented in photography and building solid engagement with various communities to share very important knowledge around disability. Michelle, thank you very much for being here for us and welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I am just, looking at your picture behind. It's 10 p.m. here. But this bright light and the flowers, the life in those flowers, I cannot feel anymore that I have the whole day behind me. And you're a photographer. Your hobby, if I may say so, is photography. How it started?
I can remember it's actually started unexpectedly. I didn't think I had any talent. I didn't think that I was very good at art. I could not draw a straight line, and I had a friend that would argue with me. Oh yeah, you can do some art. You can do this. And I thought, oh no, because I had it in one way that I had art in this box that I just thought was one way, and it really wasn't. And I can remember I took some pictures at prom. We at my prom, and we had at the venue there was a picture of a tree, and I took a picture of a tree, and all my peers asked me, "Well, why did you take a picture of a tree?" And there was
Yeah.
a woman in this writing group that looked at my pictures, and she said, "Ah, this shows perspective." And it didn't sink in for so many years. I still argue with another friend of mine that I was bad with art. I thought, well, I'm good with writing. Okay, I'm okay with that. And my husband and I were at a wedding, and we stopped at a cemetery in another state, and there was these beautiful angel statues, and I took pictures of these statues, and I had a friend that saw them, and she said, wow, these are amazing, where are they from? And the friend that saw them was very particular, so I thought, wow, if I made her happy, I must be doing something right. So I decided that I was going to put them in an art show. And when
Mhm.
I did that, it was just amazing. I got an honorable mention, and that just encouraged me to take more pictures and to enter them into shows. And then I started taking pictures on my walks. I'm not able to drive because of my learning disability. And people would tell me, will you bring out the details in a flower that I would miss? And that just started a lot of taking pictures and noticing details that other people will miss.
Seeing details most of us are missing. It's a talent that we got,
Mhm.
beautifully that you have discovered, and you stay with it. You didn't ignore it. Are you aware of those details when you see some space, some image, or do you have some senses in you, different connection when you see, oh, this is how I want to present that?
It's a little, excuse me, it's a little bit of both. Um, I can, I'm not focused on a car. So that gives me that chance to literally stop and smell the roses and to be able to see all of those different things, because people are focused on the road and safety, as they should be when they're driving. But I get to go and take a walk. And some of the flowers I know in my neighborhood because I've seen them year after year. So I know in spring we have these flowers that bloom, and in fall we have ones that will bloom in the summertime. And so I'll be able to know what blooms and what doesn't, but for that season. But sometimes when I take the picture, I sometimes I can say, okay, I can focus in. I said, this is going to be nice. And sometimes I think, I don't know how this picture is going to turn out, and I might have to go and play around with it later. But every once in a while, you get that one and you're like, wow, this is going to be amazing. And I'm just so glad that I got to capture it. And sometimes it's a total surprise. I can remember running errands on our street, and well, actually on our main street. And what I found was a moth lie on the sidewalk, this beautiful moth with all these beautiful colors in it. And that was just totally unexpected. And I was able to photograph the picture of that moth. And sometimes I might see butterflies and I get that chance. And that's something like I can't plan, but I can also notice things that just people might not always see. Like I'll be with my husband. I'm like, oh, look over there. There's a yellow iris, or look, there's a rose, and he'll be like, where? And then I'll be pointing it out, and that's something that he may not notice right away. And then sometimes he'll bring out. He's getting better at it. We'll be in the car, and he'll say, "Wow, did you see? Did you see that?"
Mm.
And we love to go on little trips and adventures and just be able to sometimes just see new things too, or some old favorites.
Photography is very specific, and
Hmm.
one will take the regular picture, another one will have this talent in eye and in hand as
Hmm.
well. And that's also beautiful. It makes us different, right?
Yes.
But as you say, also because you are not driving, you are not focusing on the car, so you are observing surrounding you environment. Do
Mhm.
you think this different, deeper connection with surrounding you nature, the environment, is somehow connected with your disability?
Hmm. I think in some ways it is because my brain can pick up on maybe details that maybe somebody else might miss, or I can see just sometimes I made it a metaphor for my
Mhm.
life to be able to see beauty with having a disability that maybe other people wouldn't always see as something that's beautiful, or some of the pain that's happened in my life. Slowly, I got to see a lot of the beauty that has come out of that. And I just think that that's part of my brain that I'm able to be able to do a lot of that and just to see that. And sometimes maybe somebody might just be distracted or people just don't notice details or little changes. And I do think that it could be part of the disability with having a brain that is wired differently than maybe somebody who is neurotypical.
People who are not disabled,
Hmm.
they take health for granted.
Hmm.
They are having more space to focus on daily things that when we really consider, they are having little meaning. But somehow we make them our drive for life.
Sometimes maybe somebody that doesn't have a disability, they might just be able to do everything and they think in one direction or they think, oh, this is how we do things in one way. And sometimes creativity is how it really what that takes for somebody with a disability to be able to survive and also to thrive in life too. We may not be able to do something maybe the typical way that somebody without one has. So then that creativity just comes in and we think of different ways to be able to solve the problem.
How you find creativity when you are limited?
I think sometimes that is necessity is the mother of invention. Sometimes we have to think of different ways to solve an issue. I remember I worked for an agency that helped people with disabilities. And one of the things that they said, or just the general attitude that they had was, if you can't think of creative ways or things to help some of our clients that have disabilities to do that, then to go home. Because they wanted, you need to think about different ways on how to solve different problems because the thing is, my disability, it doesn't go away. So I have to think of ways to be able to compensate for simple things, such as not being able to read the face of a clock with having that. I have to, I have my Fitbit, I can read a digital clock. If I don't have a ride to get a place that I need to go, then that has to be some creativity. Either I have to walk there or I need to get a ride. And it's just looking for those solutions. And once I started looking at myself as a problem solver, that was also a big change with having how I dealt with it.
we will be talking more
Mm-hmm.
about the disability and how it has an impact on life, because I believe have this opportunity to learn from
Mm-hmm.
you, it will have a great positive impact on many of us. You are having in you the positivity. You are having a passion. Photography, you
Mm-hmm.
are a writer. You're writing articles. You are engaging in various projects. Not everybody who are having disability are having the same approach. What's the difference?
I think the difference is I focused on what I can do and what I can control and what I can change. I cannot control or change that I am not good with numbers. I cannot control or change that I can't drive a vehicle. But there are things that I am good at and I love to do. I love to write. From the time I was little, I loved to write. And my parents also noticed that I was really good at reading, and they encouraged that talent. And when I focus on the things that I love doing and I'm good at, I feel happy, I feel empowered. But when I focus on things that I can't do or I can't change or I'm not that great at, then that leaves me to be really negative. And I think about what I don't have. And I think it also is true maybe with people who even don't have disabilities. We tend to go for things that we like to do and that we are good at, and things that maybe we're not so talented at, or things that don't give us a lot of interest. We may not engage in those activities, and that's okay too. And I think that it's just focusing on those things in my life that bring me happiness.
Like you mentioned, people who do not
Mhm.
have disability, they have choices. But
Mhm.
somehow we can say people without disabilities tend to think we are more privileged
Right.
and our choices are more free. Because again, we don't consider our health. There is no
Right.
limitation. Yes?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I think sometimes that even with people without a disability, there might be things where they may not want to do the job, or they may not particularly like doing something, but they can do it, and they can be successful at that. So it does give them more opportunities. For example, I knew when I went to college that I wanted to work with kids, but I knew being a certified teacher was not going to be the best course of action for me. And a lot of people, that's what they decide they want to do. They go to college, they are able to pass all the tests, and they become a great teacher in a classroom. But I found something that I did like to do, which was being a teacher's aide. And I found a program that involved education, but none of it was to be a certified teacher. So I think, but if I didn't have a disability, I would have more choices. And then also with jobs, I cannot get a job that involves a lot of math or even traveling to get to a job. If it's going to be something, it's going to be a long commute, or it's not in my area where somebody can drop me off or give me a ride, or I'm able to walk whenever I need to. That's not a possibility. And if I didn't have the disability, I would have more choices. But it's one of those things where I just choose to really focus in on what I do have and the things, the options, and the things I can control.
I like that alignment,
Hmm.
that what I can control and what I cannot control. It's incredible how valid it is for all of us.
Hmm.
But because of the physical appearance,
Hmm.
physical status, we will interpret that and utilize in life in a different manner.
Hmm.
Because we we will focus on what we can't control, and we are creating the whole drama around what we can't control. We are seeing ourselves as a victim. I cannot change that. I cannot. I do not have enough money. So even increasing the number of justification,
Hmm.
why I glued to that part what I can't control. Whereas, as you say, I sense there is more focus on creating things that you can control. And one of this is, yeah, living by passion. Are everyone disabled with whom you are working or interacting are also so positive and full of life as you?
I think I do work with some people that are definitely amazing. I have some wonderful coworkers that I work with, and a lot of them do understand about disabilities, but many of them have not experienced it themselves. So sometimes that's a unique angle that I get that chance to when I work with students. I cannot help them with math, but I'm able to work with a lot of my students have disabilities. Some have learning disabilities like I do. Other ones might have autism, and some just might have some other things that they struggle with. And in a lot of ways, it's like hearing a recording of myself at that age. Most of them say they hate having their disability. They wish they didn't have it. And I get a chance to go in and tell them it's not a bad thing to have a disability. And I get a chance to show them how to advocate as well. But I think sometimes just going into the classroom and knowing what a lot of them are feeling, I think is amazing. I had a student that was really struggling in the room with just trying to keep up with taking notes and assignments. And everybody's like, well, it's really easy. Why can't you do it? And I could just see the struggle with him. So I told him, I said, I understand this is really hard. I said, during when we have another period, we're going to sit down together when you struggle with this, and we're going to figure that out. We just want you to try. And I was able to work with him during another class with getting him caught up. And this student not only got his work caught up, when he was in that class, he was raising his hand, he was participating on his own, and he just looked at me and smiled. And I think it was because he feels safe that I'm not going to make fun of him, that he's struggling. I'm not going to tell him it's easy because it certainly isn't easy. But we still have to work together to find a way to be able to get the work done.
You just shared a wonderful example, which I think we can label inclusivity.
Mhm.
And you shared the part that not everybody are accepting. There will be a huge part of people that are
Mhm.
integrating. Then another dimension from the perspective of the student and how to create the bridge, right, of the
Mhm.
inclusivity to meet the needs and give attention to other person with empathy. For myself, working in leadership, organizational construct, we are using this word like in marketing, inclusivity.
Mhm.
Inclusivity and diversity together.
Right.
Yet I believe in the meantime, there are so many dimensions of these two terms.
Mhm.
And I believe it's not a wrong way. I mean, it's a wrong way that we have created so many that people
Right.
are, on top of that, people are free to choose which dimension suits them,
Mhm.
suits their agenda. Either it's in organizational construct, either
Mhm.
this is in community, and how it is in your world with inclusivity. You mentioned already you have limitation in finding the job. You had
Mhm.
limitation in terms of getting education, right? Um, and you didn't stop. It did not stop you. You keep moving and creating your own way, which is wonderful. But inclusivity, how it is in your world.
I think we've made a lot of progress with that, with having opportunities to be able to do, with including other people and having that conversation that wasn't even on the table whenever I was a lot younger. I had a lot of people telling me that I couldn't go to college and suggesting a trade school. I had a psychiatrist who told me I wouldn't go beyond community college, and now I'm getting and they have disability accommodations, and I was able to go and get my 4-year degree. But now I'm watching as a lot of colleges have programs for a lot of other things. We've expanded that maybe to someone who has an intellectual disability, people that have developmental disabilities such as autism. There's a lot of programs that they might offer on campus that they didn't offer 20 or even 30 years ago. But there's still so much work that needs to be done. There's still so many misunderstandings people have about learning disabilities. Sometimes it's even how to include people that have disabilities. Sometimes an employer, for example, might come in if they find out a worker has a disability, or somebody might be hesitant to disclose that because they might fear that they're going to be viewed as a liability rather than this is a really valuable asset that we have in our organization. And it's using that inclusivity to just include everybody. Find a way to be able to include people in our society, in our jobs, in our schools, and just that everybody has that voice and that everybody is welcome. And it's not everybody's going to do the same job, or it's not that just, okay, you have a learning disability, this is all the further you'll go. It's what's really going to make you be able to shine? How can you contribute? And really focusing on that person. And I think sometimes that is what is so missing in a lot of our planning. It's gotten better, but we still have this narrow box that we want to fit everybody into. And there just isn't a one size fits all for people.
The narrative is very
Mhm.
beautifully established, but in
Mhm.
practice, there is a
Yeah.
huge gap. The plain page.
Yep.
How it is with inclusivity in your world. And somehow I said that on purpose because most
Mhm.
probably our audience, how dare she say her word, our word? But
Right.
somehow it's true. If
Yes.
it wouldn't be really our world, we wouldn't have those limitations,
Exactly.
as you just said. The systems from the scratch would be built in a way that the communities, that any kind of infrastructure is open,
Right.
not post-prepared, but pre-prepared. And I remember many, many years ago, originally I come from Poland. And
Mhm.
in Poland, they started, oh, it was maybe like 20 years ago. They started the new campaign to engage disabled people to some
Mhm.
workplaces. And they actually put kind of obligation on employers that certain percentage they have to hire disabled people.
Mhm.
And there was a huge clash with that because I believe we don't know too much about the disability.
Right.
Somehow, oh, disability. Okay, that person is out. We cannot, but hey, disability is having different shapes, different size. Like you said, can you just give a space how this person can contribute? And it does not
Right.
have to be 70%, it can be 10%. Huge change.
Exactly. When people open their minds and they think, well, how can this be a possibility? And because there's so many people who have disabilities and they don't have jobs, 80% of people with disabilities are unemployed. So that is a really huge thing. And the some of the issues is not only is not really the limitations the disability provides. Most people with them have found ways that to compensate and to be able to cope very well. And it doesn't mean that every job's going to be perfect for that person either, but it has to be on things that they can do. And a lot of places they want to have somebody where they want them to be able to do every single aspect, maybe of a job, and maybe that's not going to work for someone that has a disability, or sometimes the person with one may have a great deal of difficulty with just being able, not necessarily to do the job. Maybe it might take them some time, but also on how to advocate is a really big thing, and how to share that you have a disability can be really hard. So I think that those are some really important conversations to have on educating the person with a disability, but
Mm.
also with educating employers. This is how we can make this work.
and then create our world.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what kind of disability you do have.
Sure. I have dyscalculia. That is a math learning disability. I have visual perception issues, but that's in my brain, not in my eyes. And I have limited hand dexterity in both of my hands.
Okay, can you please explain us? I
Sure.
understood there are three.
Yes.
Yes. So can you explain us one by one? What does it mean? Because
Sure.
we don't.
Yep, that's perfectly fine. Dyscalculia is a math disability. It's not that I see numbers backwards, but I have trouble with how numbers work. I get lost in the steps of a math problem. I don't know all my multiplication, subtraction, or addition facts, and I have a very limited understanding of math. But it also goes beyond just a math class. I am not able to read the face of a clock, of an analog clock, despite many interventions and instruction. So I have to use my Fitbit or a digital watch.
Mm.
I really struggle with directional concepts such as east, south, and west, which I never knew was a symptom of that. It can be hard for me with budgeting to know how much money we have and how much money we have to pay in bills and just trying to create that budget. If I'm leaving a tip for somebody at a restaurant, it can be really hard for me to know what kind of tip to leave. So I have to use the tip calculator app on my phone. If you take me to the store, it's really hard to know how much I'm spending. It's a surprise every time I get to the register, I'm sure it is for everybody.
Mm.
And if you give me a credit card or a debit card, it's too abstract. But if you give me cash, I can see the coins and the dollars, and I can get a range of how much I'm spending.
Mm.
That's the math part, the math disability. The visual perception is my reaction time and my body awareness. I will flinch whenever objects come in my field of vision. So gym class was a real nightmare for me with team sports whenever I was younger. And driving was also something that we knew was going to be an issue because of how I'm not coordinated. And my
Mm.
parents we lived out in the country, and they said, well, why don't we have you try to mow the field? Well, instead of making nice, beautiful, long lines, I ended up making circles. So I always joke around that I know where crop circles come from. And I almost wrecked the family car in the garage. So we knew that something had to be looked at. And they sent me for a driver's license evaluation, and I passed everything except for at the end with the visual perception. And it was like 100 pounds lifted off of me because I knew that I just couldn't live with myself if I would hit somebody or hurt myself in that. And I knew that if I, you know, if that my hand coordination would just go out at 1 second. I just didn't want to have that. And I knew that driving wasn't going to be a good choice for me. The limited hand dexterity is one of those things that I wasn't diagnosed until I was an adult. But once I got diagnosed, the light bulb went off. I've always had poor handwriting, and people often would make comments. People would say that I had the handwriting of a serial killer, or I was sloppy or messy, and they
Mm.
use it as a character flaw.
Ah.
But part of that goes in like with my hands, how they work, and just with not being able to write very well, and also my fine motor skills with opening up jars. And I'm not able to do that. I'm not able to unlock doors very well with a key, especially if it's an old door. And that was one of my first
Mm.
articles that got published, was my struggle for opening up a door with my limited hand dexterity. And another thing that really made a lot of sense too was things would fall out of my hands, and people would say that I was clumsy or klutzy. And it all made sense after that point that, well, that's why I do that.
I believe there are no wrong questions, and I hope that you don't mind if I will ask,
Mhm.
um, especially that here you are with me. Are these things possible to manage, to train, to practice, to become better?
Some things are like they will say neuroscience and there's activities that can do that. That has not been effective for me to do some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But what has helped me is finding ways to be able to compensate with that. For example, I've read an article on this opening up jars with I found bottle openers and jar openers that I can be able to open up, and that's helped out. Using a manual, um, not a manual, an electric can opener is better than using a manual one for me. Sometimes it can just be an app on my phone for leaving a tip, or it can just be looking at a digital display compared to maybe an analog one. And I think it's just finding those different things that work. I'm also
Wow.
not able to do escalators if I'm out in public because my brain just can't figure out where to step on and off at. So I can use an elevator or I can go on stairs. I might be a little slower on stairs, but it's just finding those ways. And that's where that creativity just sometimes comes in with the situation. I can't change having the disability, but I can think for ways to be able to compensate for it.
To find your ways
Hmm.
with these three kinds of disabilities.
Hmm.
How did you make it? How was the process of growing?
Well, one of the first really important things was I have a wonderful set of parents who never gave up on me. And
Yes.
they were the ones who they made me go to school even though when I wasn't going to do well on a test. They made me deal with a lot of that. And they explained that I had a learning disability. My brain worked differently. I also had a great set of teachers who could identify it very early. I was diagnosed in kindergarten, and they
Oh,
even thought in
okay.
preschool some things were going on. So I had some teachers that worked with me all throughout my school years with that and work with my family to provide the best possible solution with that. I
Mm.
also have great friends that they couldn't cure my disability and but they could be my friend. And sometimes that was really important because I was bullied throughout all my years of school with having one and finding friends outside of school that I could relate to and that shared the same interest was so important. I can remember I was at college and I was really struggling in a class and my friends, we went out on the weekends and they couldn't fix my grades. They couldn't give me the grade that I always needed, but they could be that friend. And I think that was a big thing. My mind started to really shift because once I was really negative about having one. Once I went to university and I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I started to have a more positive outlook on my life. And I thought, well, I did this and I didn't think I could do it, but I found a way. And the disability didn't go away, but I was able to just be able to find use different strategies to have success. And it really renewed my faith and my hope in things.
Oh, we need to hear these kind of messages really more often to
Hmm.
even somehow feel shame about the problems we create in our own life. Like you are saying the before the bachelor, you
Hmm.
are having some moments of struggle, there were the elements of negativity. But once you achieve your milestone achievement, yes, the bachelor, for which I congratulate you very, very much, you saw you have a power in you. You were bullied. You were having some limitations in terms of building the friendships. But
Hmm.
did you go for parties?
I eventually did, yes, I did have some parties with some friends that were a lot, yeah, um, that were not in my school. That's where I got the acceptance. There was an arts-based group of teenagers that I started hanging out with when I was in high school. And I found acceptance that I could just shed that layer of being an outcast that followed me for all those years. And then once I started transitioning out of that group, I found an adult writing group, and they were just a few years older than I was. And 30 some years later, we're still in each other's lives. We still meet once a month to talk about our writing. And we were in each other's weddings. I mean, we have birthday parties and holidays. And it's amazing because they were the ones encouraging me. You should really write about life with a learning disability. And I said, no, that's way too personal. And I wrote some really bad poetry and some other stuff I just wouldn't want to share today. But having that group, it's just finding my way. And I had to find my way maybe a little bit younger than maybe other people do, to step away from the crowd and find my tribe.
Have they been disabled?
Most of them are not. Some of them do, but some of them are just, yeah, maybe some of them don't consider themselves to be disabled or that, but some of them don't have any disabilities.
Time of school is a huge time in our life. Belonging, being accepted, having,
Mhm.
yes, these friends, tribes, yes, the groups. How over the years till bachelor, because we will talk about post-bachelor, uh, and you said feeling of being outcasted. So
Hmm.
that's already this kind of little touch of different worlds, yes,
Right.
showing left, right, and there is no bridge. I mean, you eventually found, but outside, every day you have to go to school. People are bullying you, people are laughing, joking. How do you feel and how you go through that?
Socially, school was the hardest for me, especially during my high school years. When I was in elementary school, I went to a very small conservative school that everybody knew each other. And it was noted to be a very small, tight, close-knit community if you were one of them. And I really wasn't one of them. So I can just remember feeling like, oh, I just want to have a friend. That was in elementary school. I just want to have that best friend. I wanted,
Mm.
and I wasn't invited to birthday parties, or no one wanted to play with me on the playground. And that was really difficult. But what really was difficult is I went throughout my years of school, especially in the high school, middle school. A lot of the groups became more defined, and I just didn't feel like I fit in with anybody. And the bullying really intensified. I just had a lot of people that were picking on me, and I can even remember some threats at that time. And I wonder what was wrong with me. I wonder, why can't I find somebody that likes me? And I just really felt like I didn't fit in, especially if I went to learning support. Most of my peers struggled with reading and behavior issues, and some of them didn't even have learning disabilities. Some of them had autism, and they just kind of threw us all in one class together. And when I was in regular ed, my peers could see that I was struggling in some of the classes that I was placed in. And they knew that I went to learning support to have a test read to me. And they just lumped me in with all the other peers that were in learning support. So it was really hard. I just really wonder what was wrong with me, and why can't I find a friend? And there must be something that's wrong with me. And by no means am I perfect, but I just knew that it wasn't. I would read all these magazines on how to be popular, and I would try to do activities that other teenagers like to do. And I didn't have any interest in them. Or I would try to dress like other people, and none of that stuff worked. And I think I just realized uh, slowly that this just was not going to be the kind of people that I wanted to hang out with, or I wasn't going to have my place. So while I had to go to school,
Mm.
I went there, and I was active in some clubs that I liked, but my main focus, especially the older I got, was activities that were outside of school.
The focus, the purpose. Ah, I
Hmm.
love that. It's helping so much people. I wish more people would believe this. Having a purpose is
Hmm.
giving a wonderful way to grow and to reach the satisfaction in life. Life is not perfect, and it's not about
Mhm.
that, but to be content in stable manner, as
Mhm.
is all about. You
Um,
are raising so interesting thing because in our world we also want to fit in.
right.
And yes, but the difference is most probably the physical appearance. We are
Right.
different, but still we are hungry for acceptance, right?
Yes.
To fit in, like you said, dress up like others. So maybe then they will accept me.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, let's smoke. Then maybe accept me. Let's drink. Then maybe accept me.
Hmm.
This is the best way somehow to lose yourself.
Yep. Agreed, because you want to try to really fit in with a lot of other people. And some of that, though, I got to really be saved from a lot of influences with getting involved with the wrong things because people would ask my parents, well, why do you let your child have older friends? And my dad goes, she never gave us any reason not to trust her. So we knew that she was going to get involved with good people. And I saved myself from a lot of mistakes that maybe some teenagers would make with going out and partying like that before they were old enough. So that was a really big thing too. And there was that, I think there was a one video I watched of myself at a birthday party, and my husband loved to joke around that, well, you look exactly like everybody and you're wanting to do that. And I looked at that and I thought that was before I was comfortable with being who I was. I was trying to be like everybody else, but I was losing that identity. And I got that back. And I think a lot of that was hanging out with other people that didn't go to my school and maybe had different ideas or just maybe different thoughts. And just getting that exposure with my friend group and with the with adults, because we would go to museums or we would go out to movies and maybe not do things that maybe sometimes teenagers would other teenagers would do, but they were expanding my worldview to see beyond that.
I love that. What you said even before, that the people from the other group
Hmm.
uh, became your inspiration. They encourage you to do different
Yep.
things. And this is what it's all about in connections, in building relationships with other people, not to be a copy
Hmm.
uh, of the main person of the group and speak like everybody else, but having people who will see this special talent in you and
Hmm.
will push you. No, no, I'm afraid. No, you need to go. And
Yep.
that's a beautiful feeling and image that even I have just created in my mind is showing a tragedy. How much we are coded, programmed to, to see people through the lens, beauty,
Hmm.
not what sits in mind.
Exactly. Yep.
This is still today
Hmm.
in my world. Is it happening in your world that you are having a group of disabled people and then they are choosing, oh, you are not looking good, you are having no fancy clothes, so sorry, you don't have access to our club. Do you have these kind of things?
We do have those things in our
No.
life, definitely. There are things that people do. I mean, a lot of times people will judge someone based upon appearance or based upon just who they are, or maybe some things that they like. We do have a lot of those um that they exist in schools, but a lot of times even that can just exist as being an adult, or just even with a group, or it can just be with somebody that might have a disability. I'm very lucky that I'm very happy that I found my husband, because I always worried about, oh, am I ever going to find someone with a disability? I had
Mm.
people that even told me, well, you may not be able to find somebody with that.
Ah,
And I even had a guy that knew me, and when we were breaking up, he said, I think you really can drive if you wanted to, and I'm tired of taking you places. And he couldn't accept I had a disability. And other people have said straight up, I don't want to be with you because you have one. So we do have people that can be really close-minded on sometimes relationships or even
Mm.
friendships. People don't want to sometimes hang out with someone that has that. And I think that it's really important that when we look at that, that those really are not the kind of people that you want to have. They're not meant to be in your life uh, for that. And there are people out there who will love you and will want to have a relationship. It just is about finding those people.
Beautiful. And I'm very happy that you are having your wonderful, yes, the marriage life. What is happening after your success of gaining the bachelor? What has
It took me a
changed in
while.
your world, in your
Sure.
life?
It changed what I thought was possible. It took me a while to find the right job. A lot of jobs said, oh, we're disability friendly, and they were anything but that. And it didn't work out there.
Mm.
But I was able to find a job working in a school. I've been there for over 14 years. And I just love working with my students because I think if I didn't have the disability, I think there would be that desire, that want to help them. But I
Mm.
don't think that empathy would have come with that. All the kids know,
Mm.
do not ask me for help with math. I will help you with just about anything else, but I cannot do math very well, or they'll soon find out. But I know what a lot of my students are feeling. And it just all that, what I once thought wasn't beautiful has just all grown in. And now I can see the beauty in it. Now I can see the empathy. I can see the compassion that I don't think I would have if I hadn't experienced what I have gone through.
You work in school right now. With what age you students? Are we talking about elder kids or like a primary school?
I work with seventh graders, so they are about 11, 12, 13, somewhere around that age bracket. Yep.
Are they always kind to you?
Not always. Sometimes I might get some kids that might say, "Can you help me with your math? Can I help me with my math?" And even after I've told them, "No, I can't help you with your math," but I've learned just to be like, "Oh, sorry, can't do that." Sometimes it's not always that kindness, but some of it's just their age as well, too. And we just try to really work with that and try to emphasize to be kind, to be gentle, and that there's all different kinds of thinkers.
Life. I believe
Mhm.
everybody should have these kind of, maybe not a course, but to go for the volunteering
Mhm.
work, to have the
Yes.
experience, because I believe it changes so much awareness, what you have, and how
Mhm.
actually you can have an easy life, and how on earth, why on earth you are complicated to yourself, especially that when you are seeing a person like yourself,
Mhm.
full of enthusiasm, passion, work, happiness, and most probably in 10 out of 10 people without disabilities, you will may find one that is happy, content in life. You said your parents were supportive. Your parents were your drive power.
Mhm.
How it has changed, or did change, how it was after you become adult, the bachelor, and then you make your own decisions. How was the relationship then?
My parents were always encouraging me to be independent. That was the big thing. They wanted me to, even after I got my associate's degree before my bachelor's, they wanted me to have a job and to be able to live on my own and to experience that because they always say that they're not going to be around forever. And I know that I'll miss them and that'll definitely be a void, but they wanted me to know how to take care of myself because of that. And it was really hard whenever I had to move back in with my parents for financial reasons when I got my bachelor's degree. But that also enabled me that opportunity to be able to focus in on school. And I'm very thankful for that chance. But even after I got my degree, I mean, they really just really pushed for me to go and get my apartment and to be able to live on my own. And they wanted me to be married and to find somebody and to be happy and to make all those dreams come true. That's something that my mom and dad really wanted for me. And I just had that. I'm just so blessed to have the family that I did that understood that, okay, there might be some things I can't do, but they always emphasized the things I could do.
Kids with a disability are having
Mhm.
different houses, different
Mhm.
parents.
Right.
You are having very positive, strong parents
Mhm.
and in a very healthy way supported you. But there will be
Mhm.
also disabled people who do not have that support, who have
Right.
parents who are angry with life,
Mhm.
that they have to experience this kind of uh, scenario, the tragedy, the the baggage actually, because
Right.
it's not easy for parents to take care of the house, especially financially.
Right.
And of course, it will depend what kind of disability it is. Mm, do you think the psychological position of parents is having an impact on kids with a disability to grow?
Oh, I think 100% it does. I think that if you are a parent that maybe you don't have time to invest in your child, and maybe you're having difficulty with understanding it. And sometimes people with disabilities to have high support needs, that can be very, very difficult. And it is that can be a challenge for families and for relationships. And I think that's where support has to come in, from having that support where parents can be able to support the needs of their child, but also to be able to get some help for themselves as well. Have that time where they can also work on their feelings, their emotions, and just having that where they don't feel like that it's all on them, that they have that community and that they can work with their child and have them be the best version of themselves that they can be, and to promote that independence. And that might look different from every single person. But I've seen so many families that I've gone through my school years, and also just as my work with people with disabilities. And sometimes it can be really difficult if you have a family member where they're not as supportive, or some of them aren't as educated with that, or they might view it as not being a blessing, or just looking at it from that perspective. And so many kids, that's how that affects a person's view. If a child doesn't feel supported when they're at home, or they feel pushed, or they feel like they're being neglected, or just sometimes trauma, or just maybe other things that are going on, then that child's not going to be accepting of having one. They're not going to be receptive of services, or some of them just don't always have a positive outlook on that. So I think how a family views it is so important on the overall outcome of a person with a disability.
Especially like you already shared, you
Mhm.
suffered from not being
Yeah.
accepted in a school, which is a
Hmm.
second house.
Yep.
So add to it to be continuously criticized at home,
Hmm.
having parents that are having no patience to
Right.
my disability.
Hmm.
That is too much for a kid. And I can imagine it also having a huge impact that limiting the potential of the brain and
Hmm.
creativity to grow later on. I will not ask you for the age because we don't ask women for the age. And by the way, you are very beautiful,
Oh, thank
especially with these
you.
flowers, you know. And definitely, I invite our audience to visit Michelle's website. It's all in description. She's doing so wonderful pictures of the nature and more flowers you will see. Here they are artificial, not from the picture of Michelle. She shared that with me before we jumped into the interview. But still, it's giving you a very, very nice light. And but we are already touched with age.
Mhm. Yes.
What message or what advice you would say yourself, younger self, before bachelor?
I would tell my younger self that it's going to be okay because I was so much in despair, even as a young child, that I just thought that life was always going to be hard and my disability was going to stand in my way. But it wasn't true. I was able to go and do the things I wanted. I was able to get my bachelor's degree. I was able to graduate from high school. I was able to get published. I got married. I have a house. I have a job that I've been at for a number of years. And all those fears that I had when I was younger, that my life wasn't going to work out, didn't come
Mm,
true. In fact, the opposite happened. So I would just tell my younger self that things get better. And I would also just really encourage her to pursue her interests and don't follow the crowd, but know what you want in life and don't be afraid to do that. And I would also tell my younger self that success doesn't always come in the package that you expect, but sometimes it comes in something even better.
what's a success to you?
I think success is for me being able to fulfill my dreams and being able to do, knowing that I put my 100% best into something, and despite what the outcome may be. As long as I know I tried and I gave it my all, it doesn't matter what the results are.
Before we will finish, I would like to ask you for the message to the world.
My message for the world would be to be open to maybe people who might think differently than you do, or might look different, or just might be have those differences, and to really embrace that, including everybody, and just finding different ways to be able to make sure that all people were included, because it just makes a better world.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Dear audience, again, I invite you to visit Michelle's website, read interesting articles, and see how Michelle is engaging with communities and projects. Many we don't do. We just live our world, our life in a routinal manner. And life is not about that. Life is creating the value for others so you can, in natural way, also empower yourself. There is always a way to grow and create the value with others. And I do hope that today, with Michelle, we have created the value of inspiration, the value of acceptance, the value and the real meaning of inclusivity. You want to create the world? Then let us start building the bridge to connect Michelle's world and our world. You might not like that, and I accept that, but that's the truth. So please share your comments. What kind of experience you do have? And maybe you do have questions to Michelle, also share. We may find a way to give the answers to your questions. There is always the way, and you are the author of your life. Remember that. As Michelle said, don't follow the trends, don't follow the mass, the crowd. Follow your way. Michelle, thank you very much, and wishing you the blessed evening.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.